Right, let's keep going. Question 3. New file. Question 3.py. Here we go. Even or odd. Oh, right, exciting stuff. So we are going to start looking at conditional statements now. So a conditional statement is anything where I need to compare two things to each other and make a decision on what to do next based on the result. So, for example, I could say, if this number is odd, do this. Or if this number is even, do this. So what we're going to do is simply, in this case, decide whether it is odd or even, and then print that to the user, whether it's odd or even. Okay. So let me just copy and paste this into a new script here. Here we go. Comment it all. Control and / will comment everything. Right, so I'm going to take another input from the user, and I'm just going to, let's just call it input. Actually, I'm not going to call it input because that is a function input. Let's call it even or odd equals input. And I'm going to please input an even or odd number, and I want it to be an integer in this case, so I'm going to wrap this in an integer statement so that it will convert that input to an integer. So right, okay, so let me just think about this for a second. So how are we going to decide if the number is even or odd? Well, what do we know about even numbers? I know that if I divide any even number by 2, then I won't have anything left over. 2 will always go into an even number an integer number of times. Okay, so how do I translate that into code? Well, I'm going to use what's called an if statement. Okay, so if even or odd, and now I kind of want to say is divisible by 2. Now there's a very formal way of doing that in Python, and I'm going to show you a new operator now. So we've done plus, minus, divide, and multiply, but I'm going to show you the modulo operator, which is actually a percentage sign. And what this is going to do, if I modulo 2, that is going to simply give me the remainder. So if I entered a number of 10, my 10 modulo 2 should be 0 because there's nothing left over. Okay, if I did 7, I should have a response of 7 modulo 2 as 1. Okay, because 2 doesn't go into 7 an even number of times, there'll be 1 left over. Okay, so if even or odd modulo 2 is equal or identical to 0, in other words, it does go in an even number of times, then, oops, didn't want to do that. Get rid of that. I accidentally ran my Python interpreter then. Then I want to print even or odd is even, and that's going to be in quotes. Okay. Right. Now there's only one other alternative here, and that is if it's not even, it must be odd. So I'm going to finish off this if statement with something you'll see all over the place. It's an else statement. Okay, so else, colon, enter, and then I'm going to print even or print even or odd is odd. Okay, now a couple of things to note here. Firstly, in this if statement, where I've compared the modulo of your input number to 2 and the modulo of the input number to 0, you'll notice I've used a double equal sign. That is critical. Okay, if you don't use a double equal sign when you're comparing things, you will get an error, because if you don't use a double equal sign, essentially you're trying to assign the number 0 to this bit of logic here, in the same way you'd use a single equal sign to assign a number to a variable. Okay, when you're comparing things, you have to use the double equal sign. So be on the lookout for bugs associated with that. In fact, I'm going to do that now. I'm going to generate the bug so you can see it. Let's run it. There we go. So I got a syntax error, cannot assign to expression here, and it does say maybe you want double equals instead of equals. Okay, so Python is quite helpful sometimes. Let's run it. Let's put an even number in of 10. 10 is even. Let's try it again. Let's put 7 in. It's odd. Okay, so I have now completed question 3.